Earlier this year, Graduate Women in STEM, a student group at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, published Broken Silence. The report detailed sexual harassment, abuse, and more among science, technology, engineering, and math departments at UMass. The findings there are not unique to that campus. Students in colleges and universities from across the country have recently been breaking their silence about their difficult experiences. At UMass, a task force studied the student report and recently released its own findings. Professor Tricia Serio co-chaired the task force, and Joelle Labastide co-chaired the Graduate Women in STEM group. I asked Labastide what motivated their work.
As the executive board members of the Graduate Women in STEM, we actually get to really meet and interact with women in all the different disciplines in STEM. And just from women coming to our events, we have mentoring get-togethers and things like that, we started noticing just this pattern of lots of women complaining about the same types of things, about sexual harassment, and in some cases very severe, they would come to us pretty upset and say that very severe assault type things had happened and they weren't sure what to do, or they were confused about what the process was for dealing with it. And some of the members of our leadership had actually experienced things and interacted with similar university systems, or interacted with different faculty members with varying success. So we really wanted to get an understanding of the problem. And we know that there had been lots of different types of surveys done before, and a lot of them are very multiple choice, and they're going for high volume and statistical information.
So not very specific information then?
Well, it's just a different type of information. We really wanted to, we thought that by sending out a bunch of writing prompts so that people could write about experiences in the context that they were happening would help us understand what this problem actually really looks like. So some of the writing prompts we sent out were write about an experience that you have had with sexual harassment or sexual misconduct in your academic environment that was complicated by power dynamics. Things that maybe when someone is telling their story, these are threads that we would hear, but someone wouldn't necessarily think about it that way.
So really then it sounds like drawing the detail of what could be a really incredibly uncomfortable, troubling, and situation that person might feel actually that their safety was at risk.
Right.
So because of the work that the student group did, there was a task force formed at the university level, which you co-chaired, right? Why was it important for you to co-chair that process?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons. One, this is an issue that has been important to me throughout my career as a scientist myself and a woman. But I also think that STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are particularly prone to these issues by the nature of the training that students undergo. So that was one reason.
A little bit more about that? What do you mean, the nature of the training that they undergo?
So particularly at the graduate level, the way graduate training works is that once students finish their coursework, they are working closely with usually one, but occasionally multiple individual faculty members on a research project that they conduct in depth. And so the sphere of mentorship contracts pretty significantly as you move from undergraduate to graduate school. And so that Joelle mentioned the power dynamic of that, and also the restricted sort of interactions, I think, as detailed in the National Academy's report, makes STEM fields particularly prone to issues related to gender and sexual harassment.
Because do there tend to be more men in the STEM in these higher positions?
It varies by discipline. So some disciplines are more heavily male-dominated than others. So that's certainly one contributing factor, but also the nature of the close relationship between a graduate trainee and the mentor is another.
So when the task force concluded its work in April of this year, you came out with about 6 recommendations, right? Mm-hmm. Can you give us an overview of those recommendations?
I would characterize them as falling into different bins. So one bin is prevention. So what can we do as a community and a campus to increase awareness and try to prevent these things from happening ahead of time, to be proactive about it. Another is to increase awareness. So Joelle mentioned that some of the things that the GWIS group were hearing were when these things did happen that women didn't know how to respond, what resources were available to them, so awareness is another. And training, just to increase across the entire community awareness of these issues, the impact that they can have on trainees, and what we can do about it together to try to change.
And so what did you think about the overall recommendations as they came out from the task force and were presented to the university?
As a student, a lot of what happens at the university is completely separate from us, like we're not aware of it. And it was really amazing to be a student at that table and get to have conversations with like the deans and the administrators who actually have the power to move things around. But also for us, it actually just helped to understand how complex the whole problem was so that we could think about it more deeply. So like we are scientists too, and we like information, and we like, knowing why things are the way they are. So that was really important for us, and it helped us bring some of that perspective back to our students who were really kind of frustrated because of a lack of communication. So I thought that part in itself was really valuable. And
what was it like as students? Some of the things that you raised in that report are really very sensitive topics. How did you encourage other students to find the courage or the attitude with which they felt like, okay, this is something that I can come forward with?
Yeah, I mean, we asked them anonymously, for starters. I think that so many people welcome the opportunity to get things off their chest or want to provide you with information, but they're terrified of the professional or personal ramifications. As Tricia was talking about earlier, the nature of that relationship between the graduate students and faculty also leaves very little protection for graduate students if that relationship goes sour and the ramifications of souring that relationship. And so many students are very afraid of that. So being able to, we are not a university body, like we work with the university, but we don't have any reporting obligations. So being able to say, tell us your story, don't put your name on it anywhere. In fact, we don't even want to know that information because if anyone were to ask us for it, we don't want to have to, out you. And also just, I think, doing it ourselves. A lot of us wrote editorials, we put our faces on the campaign, we wore the t-shirt, we showed up in public settings. And that was really hard for us, but it was really important to show people that we weren't just asking them to do something that we weren't willing to also do. So, yeah, I think.
And so for the university's part, they've responded. The chancellor wrote a letter, an open letter, earlier this month, and he said in part, quote, "We're committed to creating a culture of respect, dignity, and support on campus, one that's free from intimidation, retaliation, and fear." And that was, again, Chancellor Subramanian in a letter that he wrote sort of reacting to the task force. What did you think about his reaction?
I have to say, I've been at UMass for just a little bit shy of a year now, and I'm incredibly impressed with both the chancellor and the university's response to this. This issue is not one that's specific to UMass.
I'm glad you said that because that was going to be my next talking point. Well, you're both here talking about UMass. This is something that happens across college campuses in the country.
And I think, the Me Too movement has certainly shone a light on this in all areas of our society. But even if you look through media reports across the country, colleges and universities are struggling with this. And the fact that the chancellor established this task force and took our recommendations seriously and is moving the university on a positive trajectory in a way that I think is really fantastic because it integrates all components and all constituencies in the university. And that's really the way that I believe we'll come up with the best way to move forward in this area if everyone has a part in it and it's a community-based solution.